Here we go. Hi, Andrei and Alastair. Thank you so much for joining this symposium conversation for this week. I was so delighted to feature your collaboration with Alastair's swimming series and Andrei Romanov's beautiful piano improvisations and responses to the series. So I think a great way to just get started is to talk about why, Andrei, you felt motivated to improvise based on Alastair's swimming series.
Well, first of all, when I just briefly saw the paintings, his paintings, Alastair's paintings, I felt already music there. I felt life there, and basically I sat down to the piano. I came to the piano and just started playing. I was looking at the painting, and the most impressive thing about Alastair's works is that I can feel, for example, there are boys and on the painting, and there is water, and I can see what happened next, just right after the painting was captured, and I can see nearly waves of the paintings of the river or lake, and that's how music came. I just started feeling music in these paintings, so I didn't really compose anything, to be honest. I just transformed my impressions and obviously idea and obviously colors of the paintings just in the music. And it was a really great pleasure, and I was really happy to do that.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. So Alastair, I welcome you to speak a little bit about your response to his music and any ideas you have based on what he just said.
Yeah, well, I think, Andrei, you summed up what I felt when I heard your music in a way, because what was immediately apparent to me was that you had listened to my paintings in a way, and that you immediately started to find in sound, or better yet, create in sound visual pictures. And it was beautiful. It's amazing when someone listens to what you're doing, has paid attention to it, and then I could sense what moments you were trying to portray. So I thought that was, of course, it was a huge compliment that someone would look at my paintings and then have such a coherent and beautiful response. So, yeah. I've got some questions though, because I'm really interested in what happens. How do you go from looking at something and as you said, sensing that it's a moment in time, the painting is a moment in time, and the role of anticipation visually. How do you get from feeling something kind of vaguely to finding the notes to portray it?
Easy answer will be I just start hearing it.
You start hearing it.
Yes. A little more complicated is I start to feel, to catch the atmosphere of them, and that's what happened with your paintings. I just started looking at them, and that's what I'm doing right now. I see colors, different colors there, and I can feel colors in certain keys and certain music, notes. And then I started to, after I capture these solid colors, I can feel the atmosphere, the whole atmosphere of what's happening in the composition, in each composition. That's why I chose the whole series, because they're all so connected, and I can see if, for example, I look here and I see one painting, and then I look all around and I see another painting. And that's what I was trying to create in music. I was trying to create something that will be all connected, because it felt so live. And then basically, yes, I just feel the atmosphere. And when I truly felt the atmosphere, I hear music. it just comes naturally. I mean, I don't hear it, like, it doesn't come transformed to me, but I sit down and it's already there. I just have to play it.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
What was it? Was it the case that you kind of went from painting to painting? Because in the composition we ended up using, because you sent several and they were all beautiful, but I liked the first one because I could kind of track that you were musically sort of musing on this impression and then that impression. And I kind of played a game with myself, like which painting were you, or which moment or which action were you trying to portray? Was it like that? You moved from painting to painting, or was it more like you were just traveling around in one big impression?
It was both, actually, because I felt the whole series atmosphere, and then I was actually capturing some certain moments of each painting, indeed. So yes, and at the same time, I didn't want to focus on one painting exactly what's happening there. I wanted to keep the atmosphere, the whole atmosphere of the whole series there. But at the same time, I was relating to some moments that I saw in each individual painting, and that's really interesting, nice.
Yeah. I immediately thought of Debussy in terms of Debussy's portrayal of stillness and I don't know the vocabulary, but there's a lyricism to it. There's a literalness to it, and an impressionistic, obviously.
That's what I felt about your paintings and about what came out from from hearing the paintings, that it was absolutely impressionistic. Impressionist. I would say so.
And just to add on to what you said, or to say that it was particularly pleasing that you did choose the whole series, because the way the whole thing progressed for me was that I did one painting trying to sort of capture my memories of this afternoon with friends. And one painting it was good. I liked it, but it wasn't enough, didn't quite do it. And so I did another one, and it ended up being 5 or 6 paintings. And the point is that when I look at the whole series, I'm satisfied that I captured that experience. I wasn't really able to do it in one painting. Some are more inclusive than others, are more effective than others in terms of encapsulating the whole experience. But in the same way you chose the whole series because you saw continuity, I did the whole series because it took that many paintings to sort of sum up the experience.
I felt absolutely the same, because that's why I chose it all, because I felt that they're not just connected, that's obvious, but I felt the whole the whole image of the whole series that they came from only all paintings all together. I got the whole idea, the whole the whole atmosphere, the whole sense, and that's exactly corresponds with what you just said. Yeah, absolutely. That's so interesting.
Yeah,
I love this exchange. I love that I don't have to ask questions. This is great. But in all seriousness, it's really poignant to me how it feels like you both were communicating with each other without saying anything, without knowing each other, and just through the artistry that you've both contributed to this project. So, and that's exactly what we're going for with the symposium. So it's really an honor to feature the both of you in collaboration. And I was struck by something you just said, Alastair, about how you needed 5 to truly say what you were saying, just like in a piece of music where you need 5 movements to properly convey something. And I have a feeling, Andrei, when you submitted the 5 different versions, it was in that same vein of 5 different attempts to capture this wholeness, the sense of striving. So it's really beautiful that you were able to come to that without actually speaking to one another, knowing one another in physical space. So this is very exciting for me.
Did you have a favorite, Andrei, in terms of not the paintings, but in terms of a version? Because I know Audrey and I listened to them, and we kind of had a brief back and forth about the different versions.
Yeah.
But what did you like about your creation? What did you like most in any of the recordings?
The thing is, I cannot choose, to be honest, because they're all
so good.
they're all, thank you. They're all about the same, but that's the most impressive thing about your paintings, because each time I see a little different. I see there's the same melody, the same like motif, but it's organized different. Like I see different colors, I see some different details, and that's why I cannot really choose, because it matters which angle you see. Like each time you see something different, so I can't really choose which one is my favorite, to be honest. And if like I can play more versions and they will be all different, because each time I see something more, and I have some different impression about it. So that's great.
Yeah. How do you think music, because most people listening to this, Audrey, are probably musicians, and I mean, the audience is probably well versed in music, more so than maybe visual arts. Am I making an assumption there that's not right?
Well, it's shifted a little bit since the symposium started. We have a more hybrid audience now, but I think it's more music heavy.
Music heavy, yeah. With that in mind, I'm curious, how do you think a musician, I ask both of you because you're both musicians, how do musicians experience visual things, paintings, let's just say art, paintings? How do they experience that part of their lives, that part of their world differently than the person who's not versed in music? What tools do you have? What sensitivities do you have that are unique as musicians?
It's for me personally, I never questioned this. I never asked myself, because that's something I was living all my life with. And definitely there is, when I hear music, when I see paintings, I can relate one to each other. When I hear music, I don't have synesthesia, or I don't see colors, but I can feel them. I can feel the atmosphere, and I can feel probably that's the difference, because I can feel details of these feelings, of these colors, and I know how to make them happen. I know how to organize them. So maybe when I see the painting, I can see a little more in terms of how well it is organized. I don't know actually the answer to that. What about Audrey? What do you think?
Well, I was gonna say exactly what you brought up with synesthesia, like this idea of associating color with certain sounds, and also based on the idea of, pianists are trained to produce colors, but we talk about color in a different way in terms of sound, colors of the piano. So it's very interesting to think about maybe the overlaps between the way that, Alastair, you might interact with color as a painter versus the way that we speak a rhetoric of color at the piano based on different tones or different ways of creating certain nuances or subtleties, and I would love to explore that with the two of you. That would be an interesting conversation.
Is that what coloring means? Because actually I jotted that term down. I was doing a little reading on Debussy, because he was someone I thought of when I listened to your interpretations, Andrei. And they used, somewhere in what I read, they used the word coloring to describe a symphonic coloring, I think was the term. And I think it was having to do with Debussy in particular, sort of reacting to the German traditions of music, and it specifically referred to a difference in coloring. So what is it? You just kind of gave a little bit of a definition, Audrey, but can you say it again, or say it more so I can understand it? Like what as a pianist, how do you think of and incorporate coloring into your playing?
I don't know if I can explain this very well, but I would like to invite Andrei to maybe you can explain this in a way that
It's a really great question. I know I kind of know somehow answer for composition since I'm composing music. And yes, exactly. That's easier to explain with an orchestra. You can create this different colors in orchestra sounds because they have, you can use strings plus winds, or you can use, for example, strings plus other instruments, percussion. You can combine them and you will create different colors, like the same as you create different colors for your paintings. I guess you combine with different colors and then another colors are coming, I guess.
It's like a variety of sounds, colors,
yeah.
or almost just like sound. So like when you hit a key, if you hit it more suddenly, you have one kind of sound, but if you drag your finger across it, or
absolutely,
that kind of thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
So it has something to do with your tactile approach.
With piano, it's a little more tricky because you can create the same amount of colors that you can create with orchestra. It all matters exactly. It's just basically the only thing you can do is just how you press the key and how you release the key. Yeah. But there are hundreds, billions of different varieties how to do that. Yeah. And also it's connected not just how you press, but with the touch, how you touch the key, how you feel it. It's, yeah, but even in terms of that, for example, connecting to synesthesia, and that's what I was also connecting to your compositions, because, for example, yellow is A for me, and for example, blue color or something connected to water is E or E flat. So I have some of connection to that too. And then it all comes about the touch, obviously, of the touch of the piano. And the thing is, why it's so hard to explain these things, because it happens naturally. I usually don't think about that. I guess Audrey will agree about that.
Oh, I totally agree with everything you just said. It was beautifully articulated, especially the sort of differentiation between the full orchestra notation, which in a way is easier because you can write it out and each instrument has its own characteristic. And so of course that creates a color, but for the pianist, it has to happen in here. It's an invisible process. So it's imagined, it's all imagination. And Andrei, you just beautifully articulated with this like collaboration between the touch, the rapidity of the touch, the use of pedal, the character of the instrument. I would say the character of the space too. Like, are you in a small room or are you in a huge hall? Like all of these contribute to kind of the instrumentation of the piano. So yeah, this is a conversation that could go on for hours though. We should talk about this another time too.
Are you going to have a video of Andrei playing, or is it going to be just a sound?
There will be video.
Audio? It will be, because there's a moment in that video to follow up on two things you just mentioned. One in the sense of touch, or how the variety of touch can be heard, but also I could see you, and I think it was the first, in a minute and a half, maybe a minute and 30 seconds, maybe through, you kind of did the shifting thing where your hands were kind of trying to move across the note, and you could see it in their hand. You could also see it a little bit in your shoulders, which was a lot of fun to see, because I knew exactly the effect you were trying to portray there, the flatness and the shifting that happens horizontally, light-wise, surface-wise. I really enjoyed that. So that the tactile, the touch sort of portraying itself on a number of different levels there, but also there are other areas, other moments in the video where I could, since you were improvising, I could tell I could almost hear your imagination ticking away. There were long pauses. There were moments where you were kind of feeling your way through the piece. And I really loved that. because it was almost like in painting, you've got sketchbooks, right? You've got evidence of the thought process behind the end result. And if the end result is the note being played, then to see a video that portrays something of your mentally and imaginatively connecting with the paintings was pretty special to see.
Thank you. It's so interesting because when I was playing, it happened naturally again. I wasn't thinking about these things that you just brought up, and now I want to hear it again.
Well, thank you again for being part of this. I'm so excited to share this with our audience, and I would love to encourage a further collaboration between the two of you. So we should talk.
It would be really great.
We'll be in touch.
Happy. Yeah.
Thanks again, Andrei. It was a
Thank you so much.
special thing.
Thank you.